Hello, guys. How we doing? HangarReady's back after 2 months off. Sorry about that. Hold on. Let's see here. 2 months. Had to redo the studio. Yep. Then we had to have a surprise. Yeah, today is a great day. It's you probably can't tell that it's a new studio, but we're going to be releasing a whole new build out video that was supposed to be ready before today, but Jacqueline hasn't gotten around to editing it yet. Um, and then uh, and then we're gonna move on to doing episodes. We're going to be doing some other cool stuff here as we get close to it. I know we have more than one live viewer right now, but hopefully that resolves itself on the number count. Let me introduce my co-hosts for tonight. Let's go to the sixth block. We've got Jolly. How are you doing this evening, Jolly?
Evening, everybody.
And we've got Turin,
Hey,
Atmos,
how you doing?
Callie, Josh, all the way from the West Coast, Numidius,
Hey.
and Shapcap joined us as our last minute addition.
Hi, guys.
So, we do have boxes. What are you talking about? There's boxes.
I see boxes.
Yeah, I see boxes too.
I see boxes.
Oh,
Shut
just
up,
moved.
Josh.
He's making a joke. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Just moved. Ha.
Okay. Anyhow, so tonight, we've got a lot going on. I just wanted to introduce somebody really quick, and that is Jacqueline, my beautiful bride. Let's see if she'll actually switch the camera to her picture. And you can see in the background, you can see the new studio set up. No, go back. Let them see some more. Transition.
All that
We'll
hard
see.
work.
No, you don't have to duck, but
the
you can
people
see
must
that it used to just be a mound of tripods and light stands in front of me. And due to help from ChapCap, we've hung everything from the ceiling. And so we have a much better setup today. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Jacqueline here is our producer, and she's keeping us on track. So with that said, that's why we've been gone for 2 months, is getting the new studio ready. Hopefully it looks cool. My hair is starting to get a little spiky from the haircut that my wife gave me, and during the middle of COVID. And then, but I think we're going to get started. I think, what's our first segment tonight? Our first segment tonight is
Targeting.
well, no, it's not just targeting.
Read the
I'm
document.
Sure, read the document there. It's going to be 310. 310 has just come out, and in PTU Wave 1, and I'm sure it will be out for everybody else in the next few days, unfortunately, because it's crashing like crazy, and generally there's some big problems with it. But I think that's something that we can talk about. So let's talk about the new targeting methodology. Josh, I know you're just in love with everything that they have done and have nothing negative to say. So I'm going to go to you first. What do you think about the new flight or new targeting? We'll get to flight model in a little bit. So hold your comments on flight model, but what do you think about the new targeting system?
I think it's super obvious that they understand modern systems and combat jets, and that I'm just so thankful that they've taken the time to talk to real pilots and sim pilots. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You wanted my actual opinion. No, I will say the new targeting system, I'm not a fan at all. I don't like that they've basically gotten rid of the ability to target your friendly versus a hostile. If you're in a fur ball, which is a whole bunch of ships together, friendly and enemy, and you need to find your nearest friendly, which would hopefully be your wingman if you're flying correctly. If they haven't been in the cone in front of you and you pinned them, you're not going to be able to find them. I think that it's really important to be able to identify your friendlies and foes and what the location of them are. And so you can position yourself to either cover your wingman or to assist with the kill or whatever's going on. So I'm really unhappy with the way that they've gotten rid of the friendlies and hostiles to be able to target the nearest one and to cycle them. I do like that we can pin the targets. I think that is a good thing. As we were playing the show, one of our co-hosts said that Maybe this would work better for multi-crew if you've got multiple people targeting with different turrets, and that may or may not be true. But the individual piloting, which I went and tested right before the show just to see if there's any other updates, it's completely dysfunctional. It's garbage.
It is not. It's very clear that they have not consulted people that have ever, flown a fighter sim, a real fighter sim, or sat in an actual cockpit of an aircraft. Jolly, what are your takes so far on the targeting system?
Well, I was writing down a list of all the things that were wrong, and I ran out of time. But the
you ran out of paper.
I ran out of paper. I haven't used it enough. Okay, I'm not going to say I'm not going to slam it yet until I've given it a through run through. I'm still getting used to do key bindings and stuff like that, so I'm not going to knock that part. It's new to me. I was in Evocati, but I didn't focus on the targeting stuff. I focused on the atmospheric flight stuff more than anything else, and the damn corridors. But that's where my focus was at. I'm not going to knock it yet. Now, one thing I will point out is the new HUD. I like the new HUD. However, the symbology is a little too either thin or dim. I'm not sure how to put it. It's very crisp, and I like that. But it's dependent upon your background. It's easier to lose than it was before, and so that's a negative. I have to knock on them. One thing I will say is if you have track IR,
let's back up here.
Go ahead.
Hold on just 1 second to comment on that. And that is, they've made the HUD symbology even easier to lose. And on a scale of 1 to 10, it was already a negative 100 before. So now they've taken it to negative 1,000. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
But the symbology itself, I like.
I do, but the being able to see it when you're blue on blue, it don't work.
That's because they don't have shadows.
Well, strokes or shadows, one of the two.
Yeah, just something to help.
Something. Yeah.
The second thing is because everything's now based upon what your field of view is in order to be able to target that thing. If you're using track IR, especially in a large ship that's turned real tight, my ability to also turn to my left, it's in my field of view now. Even though my nose is pointing that direction, I can still lock the target. And that's a big plus if you're using some sort of face tracking system.
But it doesn't make any sense in that if the ship has the ability to target ships that are 90 degrees to its side or whatever you're looking, then it means it has the ability to target it no matter where you are. So you looking at it is just a function of designating that target. You should still be able to cycle through targets that you can't see, even if you never saw them before. There's a break in logic there.
Yeah, I agree, but I would say to play the game, that's if you have that as an advantage, you play the game.
Yes,
but I agree.
And I agree. The radar that you have in front of you, that's on your HUD, is not just your field of view.
Yeah, it's not a cone.
It's 360 all around you, and it shows up the little pips that are in range of that ship's ability to detect. I should have the ability to cycle through all those pips that are on my radar. Period. I mean, period. End of discussion. That's what you had before, and you can't do that now unless you're looking at it. Well, that doesn't work if something's coming behind you. You have to continuously flip your ship around, and then you can pin it or whatever. They make it really hard. I was the guy that said it's kind of designed for multi-crew. When and if they give the co-pilot the ability to see targets and actually manipulate it just like the pilot will, which I don't think is quite there yet. I haven't tested it, but I'm not sure. But if you're a single seat fighter, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough until you get down to it.
If you're going to change something, you need to ask, what did you improve? And they already had the ability to pin a target, lock a target that was in your reticle. I think they called it. And so if you're talking about, bore sight, what you can see in targeting, they already had that ability.
That was number one.
Yep.
It used to be number one, pin what's under my reticle. And number 2 was cycle nearest hostile, and then number 4 was cycle nearest friendly. I mean, honestly, I didn't see any problem.
It made sense.
Yeah. I think what went in was this is part of the next step in order to transfer targeting to your turret operators again for a multi-crew ship.
Which I support. Just don't kill the way it was working.
I agree.
I'm going to be honest. It's like, a retarded monkey and a retarded dog had a baby and then lobotomized it. That's my opinion. Nom, what's your thoughts?
Well, a little bit. Maybe it's just a theory, but the way I see it, this sounds like an idea that was dreamt up solely to encourage dogfights. Because there's always this vocal contingent that's saying, "Oh, people are getting away from combat. People don't want a dogfight." Well, so what? But it's like, oh, now somebody had the bright idea to do this to force people to turn to a target to target it. That's the only logic I could think there, because otherwise it makes zero sense. It just doesn't make sense at all.
Well,
Or
I mean,
to
you got
encourage them to
I
use
think-
their face tracking, like Jolly was saying.
well, you got to
That too.
One
gotta-
interruption here, real quick, for a technical. The turn. I think your mic needs to be pulled out just a hair bit. The guys are saying that you're really low on audio.
Yes.
Hold
No,
down,
try to say.
that means.
Still pretty low.
Yell at us.
Yeah.
yeah, start screaming.
Well,
Yeah, you're right about the track IR, but keep in
Sorry.
mind, even track IR in this game, it's 90 degrees up, down, left, right.
And it shouldn't be.
I play
it shouldn't be
DCS.
necessary.
I'm 190 degrees left or right, no problem. Man, can't do it
Yeah.
in this game.
I mean, what happened in the 20th century? We can turn around in our seats and look behind us in an aircraft, but in the
Yeah.
whatever century this stupid game's in, you can't turn past your shoulder.
They've had the bubble cockpit since World War II.
Yeah.
Okay,
must
okay.
have.
And before
keep
that,
in
they
mind-
had nothing.
Well, keep in mind that Chris, at least this is the rumor mill, right? That Chris has always advocated for World War II dogfighting in space. So every time I see a design change, it kind of pushes you more into that up close turning fight. They don't want modern aircraft combat where you lock a target 20 miles away and fire off a sidewinder. They want you to get up close and personal.
Well, and
Let's
we
talk
understand
about
that.
But that's what I'm saying is kind of driving some of this, and I'm not saying it's perfect either, but I understand why they're going this route, and hopefully they'll hear the feedback and go, oh man, bad idea. But
Or just too much down that path. Not
I mean,
necessarily
if
bad idea.
that's what's coming down from the top, then they at least have to try it, right?
Well,
To some
and-
degree.
We have a fundamental problem. Let's say with the servers now at 50 people, that you had 25 ships on each side. And let's pretend that you had them in 4-ship flights with a leader and they were all staying together. And you get them in close proximity and they've all got to be in this tight space to fight each other. You're probably going to have more ships that collide with other ships than actually shoot each other down. So if we're talking much larger battles in the PU, you've got to be able to engage at distance or you're just going to have a lot of collisions.
Yeah, I mean, we already do. We already have players jousting into each other as it is.
Yeah.
And he who's got the best RNG wins. Usually, is how it goes.
Well, and I look, I'm all for dogfighting. I love it. I'm not
Me
saying
too.
don't do it. What I'm saying is that, you've come up with this retarded monkey UI and then you make it worse. And if that's the case, that's fine. I get it. We can live with that. But expect us to complain. I mean,
Yeah, of course. That's why it's an open alpha.
Well, but the other flip side of that is that, that doesn't explain why you aren't drop shadowing or stroking the UI so that you could see light on light.
Mhm.
It's not explaining why you can't see past 90 degrees with your head turn.
Well, I wonder, am I loud enough now? I don't know if I am or not, but
I mean, I can
on
hear
it
you.
later. But I wonder if they do test this stuff. I mean, it's almost like, does anybody not sit around and test and
I don't
talk
think
about
so.
it internally?
Well,
I don't think so.
Think about this too. I mean, right here, I think I'm the only one in this group who hasn't played a serious flight simulator. Who's always been a gamer guy. So, they don't have you guys over there helping them develop. So,
Wait, there have been offers made to
I
provide
understand that.
free
I understand that, but
consulting.
nobody's sitting in the chair doing it. And
Well,
I know I'm
the
sounding
offers are,
like a
but
crazy
the offers up
six-man
until
here.
this point have been,
Yeah.
don't call us, we'll call you.
No,
You
I mean,
know.
it is what it is.
I mean, they don't want the input, it seems.
Well, what's
Go
the
ahead,
problem with a sensor battle anyways? What's the problem with fighting at distance, getting your sensors to engage and lofting a missile and trying to turn out of their attack range, so that you can play games like that. I mean, it isn't just like you lock a target and fire. You're going to be getting into a situation where you are likely to enter their kill zone and your kill zone at the same time. So now you got to play chicken with each other, maybe launch a missile before it's actually launched so they get a missile warning maybe and scares them off. Now you can turn back in. I mean, there's multiple types of dynamics that happen with the idea of a sensor battle. And while we're on that, I completely disagree with them making it so that you have a longer. Well, I guess we have to see how much longer it is, but they're saying if you fire a missile above SCM, it has a longer targeting time. And I know we're in space, but in atmosphere, you can actually loft a missile where you use the speed and altitude of your ship to make a missile go slightly farther. So I think they're also missing more of that sensor dynamic and tactics that you can play at distance.
Yeah, that's true. Now, some of that stuff may be just such a programming challenge that really isn't worth trying to tackle. The lofting of a missile, for example, and you're
will
actually
point
accurate
out-
on that. But
Could it be that they're just not going to tackle it right now?
Well, I think there's some of that too.
I disagree with the not right now argument because the time to put those basic physics things in is early, not late. It's
Yes,
hard
you
to
might-
go add
Yeah.
that stuff after the fact than it is to just code it from the beginning.
Well, and you have to relearn something. It's easier to just learn it.
Well, that I think is a lesser of an argument, but the thing that is a real argument, as I see it, is this: is that if they want World War II style dogfighting, okay, I get that, but that still doesn't explain why we can't have HUD that we can see light on
Right.
light, dark on
Mhm.
dark. It doesn't explain why why we are constantly crashing and all that other stuff. It doesn't explain, some of the decisions they're making, like head tracking, even though you clearly could see back farther in the cockpit if you wanted, you can't because they won't let you turn past your shoulder. And so those are the bigger issues to me when we come to design, because that stuff isn't all that hard.
Perhaps
Close
part of
combat
this
is
too-
fine. I mean, I prefer beyond visual range fighter combat personally, because the more technical people tend to win, the better pilots tend to win in those environments, much more so than magic BBs. But that doesn't explain why we're making mistakes on the UI. It doesn't explain why we're doing all this other stuff that we don't need to be doing.
Now, go ahead, Charlie. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, you bring up a good point. Let's say we want to do this dogfighting type of stuff. And it depends on how the game develops in terms of how much a death means and how much the loss of your ship really means. We don't know it yet because we respawn and I claim a ship, press on. But dogfighting is going to be deadly. I mean, real bloody deadly. And so I'm not sure if the game's ready to take that level of death unless they keep us at the same, it's all right, you respawn level. We're at right now, it's not what I think he wants at all. It's not really what I want either. So it's something to keep pushing this close in combat means the ability to disengage is greater.
Now,
or less, I should say.
I
Well,
will
it's a
say on a
tactical
positive
decision.
on a positive note, because we've been knocking it quite a bit. I do like the improvements that the information I get from the HUD once I have targeted something.
Yeah.
I like the
cargo,
pips
pilot.
You have a direction beacon. The trail that's behind it is easily seen. So those improvements, for me, have greatly improved my ability. I mean, it's no secret I'm a bad combat pilot. I blew up the first thing I ever blown up with a fixed weapon ship 2 days ago because of what they've done with their new targeting and with their new improvements to the fixed weapon stuff. So there's some very positives in that sense. I just don't think the system that currently has gives enough information to the pilot, and it is extremely hard to work if you're a single seat pilot. That's really it, in my opinion.
I will agree. I did some Arena Commander just to be able to test the pips and the targeting system, and I felt like it was a lot easier to get on and stay on target. Now that is AI, and I think especially the first few waves, they basically just sit there, so they're kind of easy to shoot. But I liked I liked the way it looked, and I liked the feel of that itself. But that was it.
So, something else that we haven't really talked about in relation to this is anything that we see in live is going to translate into 42 as well, I would assume. There'd be no sense in having two different systems, right, for each games. So maybe there's a little bit of, we need to make this more non-hardcore space sim pilot friendly. Again, doesn't excuse some of the mistakes, some of the glaring mistakes, but maybe they're trying to find a common ground in there somewhere so that Joe Schmo can pick up Squadron 42 and play Squadron 42 without having to spend a minute reading a technical manual on how to target things and run around. Now,
Shep,
I think the cone is stupid. You know, you can only target what you can see. I think that's dumb. You know, I think some other things can be done, but you know, I think there's a little bit of that factors in too. Like they have to hit a broad base if they want Squadron 42 to be a AAA hit.
But I don't know, Shap. It seems that if that was the case, that would make it easier for a single player to
I hear you.
to play it than for the multi crew.
I'm just trying to get behind why some of these decisions are being made when they don't seem to make sense on the surface. You know,
they don't make sense.
What else could be driving? What else could be driving them? Is all I'm trying to get at. Yep. Little devil's advocate for you.
Let's move on to the flight model, which is going to be probably more of the same of our love of it. So let's start with Josh. Josh, what do you think of the flight model now?
Well, let's dig into the notes a little bit. The notes advertised that there was going to be control surfaces. Now, I think that's an error. I know this because when it was an Evocati, they had that there, and then they removed that, and some of the people had talked about it.
Yeah, I think those are coming in 3.11 and 3.12. But
right, but they say it in the current notes, and I was so excited. I went to Atmosphere, and the first thing I did was I set the thrusters, not the maneuvering thrusters, to 0, and I wanted to see what these things would do on their own, and of course, nothing existed. So I was disappointed big time with that. I will say I don't really understand the idea of jerk being the way it is. I guess I need to understand more about the engines and thrusters we all have and what's their spool up time. But if you think of modern fighters, they can gain speed very, very quickly. The way the thrust comes on is fantastically fast. So obviously these are maneuvering thrusters and not a main engine. So there's going to be some ramp up speed, but still you're not moving the entire ship. You're just pivoting it on the axis. And I feel like the initial jerk is okay, but then somehow it sort of fades. So I'm a little confused by that. I'm confused at when you take a ship at speed above SCM speed and you try to steer it like, I don't know, you roll it on its side and you want to just pull the stick back and go 180 degree turn. So you literally have your ship going along, you turn it like this, and then you try to go backwards like that. The ship stalls out in a way that almost acts like it's got atmospheric control surfaces. But when you think about it, it actually has thrusters on the front and rear that are working opposite of each other to steer the ship. So in my mind, the ship, we would have some kind of advanced thrust vectoring, if you would, should turn on its axis really easy. Now, your momentum and speed, obviously, you're not going to just shoot in the other direction, but the nose of the ship should be able to point almost anywhere you want. Now, aerodynamically, you could have stress on the wings and G loading because you go from a wing that's going straight into the wind and now it's the flat surface is facing the wind and that would be a high G load. I get that, but you should still be able to turn in that way. So I thought it was very disappointing to have it sort of act like an aerodynamic surface, but then completely not act like a thrustered surface, which it is. Speaking of the thrusters, they had advertised that if you hovered in a Gladius, I think they said specifically, that you couldn't maintain that for very long. I've tried it in big ships, little ships, and I just tried it again. You can sit in any orientation you want. And the only positive thing I saw was if you're sitting level, the thruster percentages were higher. And that's because you have the smaller maneuvering thrusters. If you went nose down, the thruster percent was lower. And when you went and looked visually, only like the forward thruster was mainly firing. I also looked at the thrusters leaving atmosphere, and you could see when the ship was turned straight up going out of atmosphere, you could see the thrusters firing in different directions depending on how the ship was oriented to gravity. So I thought it was nice that they at least were making the attempt. But again, I don't feel it in the hard turns. It feels more aerodynamic. They have not implemented the thruster limiting that they talked about, so that like VTOL ships would have to do it, and that you couldn't just hover in a Gladius. So again, I have to ask the question: what exactly did we gain?
Well, the playability is an issue. Namidia or Jolly, you've also played with this. What are your thoughts on the new flight model and new landing model and stuff like that?
Hard comes into play. I think folks need to get used to some of the changes they need if they're using a HOTAS type of setup. Dual joystick, I don't know. Now, in the PTU in Evocati, I always stay with keyboard and mouse, and I never change any default key settings. And so I played keyboard and mouse with it. And because with a K&M type of setup, what is your actual throttle is your cruise control. So all you have to do is hit cruise control on, you scroll it up, and you speed up. You scroll it down, you speed down. Because Josh and I were talking earlier when first went to Evocati, he said he took a valve count, he couldn't get the dang thing above like 25, 20, 30 meters a second, something like that. So I thought, let me check it out.
Well,
I didn't have any problems.
degrees.
I wasn't understand why. Yeah, well, I had no problems going 80 degrees nose up.
Wow.
I think it's because, and we had talked about this much later, about how the throttles are set up to play in the game now as for how they were. And with using simply cruise control, scrolling up, scrolling down, I had no problem setting my max speed. Oh, which, by the way, real quick, because I noticed this, terminal velocity, I didn't see that in any HUDs.
It's been removed.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah,
the
terminal velocity. I noticed that the other day.
I missed that.
I thought it was good because a small ship had a high terminal velocity, big ass ship had a low terminal velocity. Made sense to me in atmosphere, but they got rid of it for whatever reason.
Nom, what are your thoughts on the flight model?
Well, I'm a bit more towards Shapcap's end as far as the experience, because I honestly didn't really get into flight sims before this game. But more from a design point of view, I don't think we're ever going to get true control surfaces in this game. Some people have this notion that we're going to have real aerodynamic flight, and I just don't see that happening in this game. Not in the foreseeable few years, anyway. They're just going to be. It'll be more of what we're seeing now, where they simulate it to a certain degree, where they just code a ship to behave a certain way. But we're not going to be seeing actual aerodynamics. It's just going to be approaching it as time goes on.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
Well, the problem with faking it until you make it is it's a lot harder to add after the fact.
Well, and you assume that you'll make it eventually.
Yes.
Right.
I think they should just stop using terminology that isn't accurate and, be honest with folks that they're playing an arcade game, not a sim. And, we'll go from there. Let's move on to something else, which Namidius, you're going to be our go-to person because you're the only one that's really played with this that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And that is the Gray Cat Rock mining vehicle. What do you think?
I like it. I'm still trying to figure out where its best niche is, but I was messing around with it last night. You can fit, for what it matters, you can fit two of them pretty well into a black. If you have them face each other, they fit. It holds about, I think it's like, what is the heavy, the harsh environment armor hold, like 120 micro SCU, something like that.
0.12 SCU.
That would be, and
or SCU.
120
right.
units, I think.
Right. 120. It's not units, because there's 100 units in an SCU, but they definitely.
I
have
thought there was
micro
1,000 units.
So it's 1,000 in an SCU.
Yeah.
The rock holds 1,000, so it's basically equal to 8 and 3/4 suits.
I thought it was 800 that it held.
When I was on it last night, it showed maximum of 1,000.
Okay, fair enough. So that's one
It could have been a
SCU
glitch.
of cargo. Yeah.
But
either way, a lot more than you can carry.
Yes.
Right. So it's got that capability to it. It's just a matter of they're still playing around with how it's just going to come down to how frequent you stumble along these rocks. What's almost bigger to me is in tandem with this, they've added the ability of all ships to pick up minables now. Instead of having to have like 3 or 4 ships that can do it, any ship can pick it up. And if you have the ability to, if you happen to stumble across some hand minables, all you need is the multi-tool. But then there's going to be these intermediate rocks. They're probably the size of 2 or 3 hand minable rocks, or more than that, really. And you go and break them down. And I think I collected up, broke 3 of them, collected it up, and I was only up to like 2%
wow.
capacity on the ship. So I don't see this being something you be doing as a primary occupation. If you got the space in your ship to roll one in while you're doing something else, like running boxes or whatever other mission you're doing, and you stumble across them, fine. I don't see this being your primary occupation. It's a
There are
nice.
I'm going to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That was done.
I'm going to be honest. Out of all the changes in 3.10, this is the only one I really care about. And I'm not a mining guy. But it seems to me this brings in some multiplayer gameplay because you can carry 2 or 3 of these things around in a medium-sized ship, and who knows how many we can stuff into a Karak. And, you roll out with some buddies, and if you can find a decent enough mining field, then that'll be a big question. Can we find a decent enough mining field? You could all work on stuff, and when you fill up, my understanding is you can take a little cargo box out of the back, go put it in the ship, and it'll start mining again.
Yeah. The only downside I see to that operation is, while
they
made them
fields?
relatively common as far as the hand minables and the rock minables, but they're still scattered around about the same distance apart as the ones for the prospector. So you're not going to just throw the rock down into an area and they roll out and find them, because you know how long it takes to roll on an uneven moon for about 4 or 5 kilometers. You're going to have a lot of picking up and dropping off going on. Somebody's going to be running around the ship scanning for the rocks, and then here's one, and takes the rock to it and leaves them.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of ferrying going on.
My one experience with the vehicle was, I liked it. I thought it was really cool. A lot of fun to fly. Is no oxygen and no protection for the elements. So make sure you have the hot or cold gear if you're gonna go out and do it. And that because of lack of oxygen, and if you got the gear, the cold or hot weather gear, you're fine on that part of it. But it means you got to stay within range of getting back to your ship to get your oxygen back. So that limits how far out you can go. And I took off, bebopping around, scanning, finally squat, and like, I'm pretty low on my oxygen. Let's turn it back in. So I think it's neat. Maybe it's just a matter they need more of those style rocks near places, and that'll take care of problems, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. We'll wait and see.
Possibly.
The one thing that I was disappointed in, and I hate to be all negative tonight, but I thought this was a really good opportunity to allow like freelance owners to have an additional role they could do with their cargo ship. They want to go do some mining. Unfortunately, the only way I could get it into a freelancer was kind of because the wheels rub, kind of get the front wheels in a little bit. It wouldn't move. Then I closed the door because it was on the ramp and it shoved it in. I think it'd be nice if they could make it fit in the freelancer, just so give you a little more option if that's one of your primary ships.
What is it?
Yeah.
It high centers on the ramp. Is that the problem?
No,
It's
Too stubby. They're too much rubber on the sides.
Yeah, you can't get around the tires.
Yeah.
Oh, in a normal freelancer,
wonder,
or a max?
A normal freelancer.
No, a max wouldn't be a problem in a max. It's wider.
Gotcha.
The issue seems to be, and here's the asterisk, is they explicitly are saying it's supposed to fit in the freelancer. So I wonder why they haven't released this to all PTU people is because they realize, hey, we messed up. We got to shrink it by a little bit.
I can shave the wheel down.
Yeah, shave the wheels down. And
That'd be
fine,
easy.
but...
That'd be the easiest.
I see a question Shap posted.
From Director Gunner.
Yeah.
In chat.
Somebody was asking Stream Director Gunner, you say? Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the rock? I didn't see it load up inert materials. I never was able to stay in a server long enough to fill one up because it's been so crashy. But I did load some up, and I managed to get to I think Port Olisar because Grimhex wouldn't buy the Dolivine. And I sold the Dolivine. It didn't show any inert materials. You're just picking up the crystals just like you do when you're hand mining them, throwing them in and putting them into your hold. With the collection laser, just like the Prospector does. And yeah, 3 nodes was something like there might be 20 or so stones in one rock. That's just a rough guess. And depending on how you break it, they may scatter everywhere. So good luck finding them all. And but so yeah, they're going to have to tweak the collection on this thing. Pretty much everything about the frequency of the rocks, how much you get out of each one, and all that.
So it blows apart the rock with the laser, and then you suck it in with a beam.
Well, it's just like with the hand.
It's like hand mining.
It goes apart just like with hand mining. If you do it perfect, they all drop pretty much there, all around the base of the stone.
And you have to get out and scoop it all up, or what?
Nope.
No,
It's got a laser.
collection laser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the collection laser isn't as smooth. They still got to tweak that because I was having to carefully aim it around, and took a while to collect up all the stupid little rocks. It needs to be a cone, not a pinpoint.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm pretty excited to try it. I like that kind of gameplay. I like just kind of going out and driving around and land my freelancer, load it out, drive around for a little bit, do my deal, hop back in, maybe log out in the freelancer, come back later and keep going or whatever, So I'm pretty excited to see it, to be honest with you. I wonder what the price point's going to be. I guess that'll be interesting.
With some tweaks, it could be some pretty fun, chilling gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's an alternative. It's an alternative when you want to do something for a little while.
I'm going to be honest. I really think that they should have had it just mine the same nodes that the Prospector mines and make you have to have 2 or 3 of them to, crack the big ones. Or have a Prospector to crack and then these guys sift through the material. Then you'd have a real cool mining operation going for multiplayer.
Cole just brought up a good point in chat.
I was going to say, Josh, just like what you're thinking, upgraded mining heads, upgraded consumables. There's scalability in the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cole just brought up that he thinks it's not going to be super useful until you can drive one in a cave and use it to mine stuff in caves.
If they put the caves
possible.
in,
Possible there. That's a good point, Cole.
Yeah. Well, we already know that spider, the Cygnus miner that I think Grey Cat makes. It's like a spider-looking thing. We've seen it in a couple videos already, like as a prop in the background. So we know that's coming.
From my experience,
they've actually modeled that. They showed models on that.
Yeah, but that's huge. That's the other flip side. That thing is like reclaimer size.
On surface of asteroid mining, I think, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
it's kind of halfway in between reclaimer and prospector, really. Somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's for dropping down on an asteroid, drilling into the asteroid and extracting from there.
Understood.
Okay, moving on. Bartender. WTF.
You could use that time to make better flight models, better drop shadows, engage with the community.
To be fair, the people who do that work probably aren't useful. Who did the work on the bartender, their skill set probably isn't towards the flight model stuff, wouldn't you think?
In all fairness, hold on. I could teach my wife how to put the drop shadows in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
it's not like people have been asking for that for like 5 or so years.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a real hindrance to the game, and
Yeah.
Anybody love the bartenders and want to talk about them, or do we all think this is just silly fodder stuff?
I know their intent. I know why a bartender is there and what it's supposed to do, but it's nowhere near that yet, and I don't know that it ever will be. The bartender is supposed to be like your innkeeper in Skyrim, where you run up and you buy things from him, but then like you pick up on the scuttlebutt of what's going on in the area, and you can pick up on leads and get missions and stuff for him and things like that. It's eventually where it's supposed to be. Now we're nowhere near there now. It's buggy as hell, and the guy never gives me my drink. But that's the intent. And whether it's the right place to do that or not, I don't know. But they want the bars to be the social hubs of the places that you're in. I believe.
And I get that. It's just that they are chasing a dragon that they're never going to catch.
Well, I have a theory, Jay.
What's your theory?
My theory is Shat mentioned it earlier about a bleed over from Squadron 42. I think this is the bleed over. Because in Squadron 42, everybody that the player is going to interact with is an NPC. And there's going to have to be some level of interaction that is, higher than just scripted, some kind of just scripted play. There's got to be There's got to be dynamic interaction. So I think
point.
this is because I believe it's been mentioned before. Them doing this bartender bit has provided them with information that they have used elsewhere. They haven't said that, but I think it's the Squadron 42 interface. Just think about it. If you're running around in Squadron 42, you've got to be able to interact with all these various characters to a certain higher level degree than just a standard, Skyrim. I used to be a warrior till I got shot in the knee kind of dude. So it's got to be a little bit better than that. So the way it is right now, it kind of excites me a little bit, but scares the hell out of me too, because the bartender's nowhere near that level of interaction. So I'm wondering in the back of my mind, what's happening on the other side of the development fence with Squadron 42 and that interaction. But that's just my theory.
Only problem with this is that if their reach is a lot farther than their grasp, they're going to fall flat in their face on this. And I have a sneaking suspicion that's where we're headed.
We're getting some good feedback in chat too.
Yeah, we are. Getting some great
I never
feedback.
played Freelancer, so I can't comment on that, but has somebody here?
No. I'll be honest with you guys, when I first got approached by this, starting ADI, and that'll be 7 years ago next month, my first comment was, Chris Roberts, isn't that the guy that made the crappy Wing Commander games? So,
ouch!
Wow.
So I am not. I'm not a Chris Roberts fanboy. I do not worship the ground he walks on. I want him to make a good game, and I hope he will. And I think they're getting there, but they need to hear some criticism from people that are, backers that really care about the game. So, yeah, and shots fired.
Yeah.
Moving on. Jolly, I think this is going to be you. The trading app. I haven't even seen it yet, so tell me.
Trading app?
Yep.
No, that's not me. I haven't played with that one at all.
We
Unless
we
you're talking
messed
about
with it, I
be able to
thought.
pass. You talking about passing money back and forth?
Just passing
money. Yeah,
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. Yeah. In fact, I think Noam and I did it like when it first came out. It's extraordinarily simple. You simply find the individual you want to give credits to. You click on them. I forget the procedures exactly. It's been a while. How much credit you want to give them, you pass it to them, and they get it. The negative aspect of this, I passed, Noam, I think you passed me credits first. He says, hey, I passed you, I don't know, like 10 credits. I said, okay, I believe you. Because I didn't get anything that says this guy sent you these credits.
Right. There's
So
no
I said-
ledger. You add a ledger,
Right.
and honestly,
Yep.
I'm trying to think of other. Can you guys? I've been wondering in this. Can you think of a situation where you wouldn't want to just automatically accept it? That you say you received funds. Do you want to accept this? Should we have
Reject the money?
Yeah, I mean, if the game
'cause
ever
maybe
got so
somebody's-
in depth where like a seedy guy gave you money and could set you up for a
Exactly.
crime,
Right.
If
So
we ever got
they
there,
may
then
need
yeah.
to add
NPC
in
or
there.
something, maybe. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the very least, there needs to be a ledger so you know what money went where.
I agree.
Yeah, just add it to a tab in your journal.
Well, I
You got a
guarantee
journal
you,
in your Moby class.
I guarantee you, they're tracking it.
Yes.
It's in a log somewhere.
Yeah, the government
right.
knows.
Yeah,
Space
we
government
should have
knows.
access to that. Yeah, because did I send him 100,000 credits or 100? I don't, damn it. That's some
It
way to
was
check and see
one.
what's going on.
Right.
But the procedure itself, bear in mind, you got to be in the same server. Very easy. I mean, intuitive, I'd say, actually.
Yeah, in typical ADI fashion, my one up, one down would be one up would be it's if it's in your friend if you're in the friends list, you're there. I don't have to worry about typing your name. My one down would be, can you put it in alphabetical order or something, so I don't have to circle through everybody to try to
Well-
figure out
Yeah,
While
I
we're
agree.
on
find
that,
someone.
can they make it so that when you're looking at the people in the server, that the names don't just jump when a new name comes in, so alphabetical and not just jump all around and
Right.
send
well,
you back to the beginning?
It
Yeah,
that
shakes
would
the
be
bowl.
nice.
Shakes the bowl of
Needs a
names
lot
up.
of work.
Okay. And then finally, visor wiping, the actual feature that I have actually used and enjoy. It's kind of handy to be able to wipe off your visor after you've been freezing to death on new
that a-
Microtech.
right in the middle of
Is that a
rainstorm,
pun, Jay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Is that a pun? Handy?
Yeah, well, it's handy. Yes, I agree. It's a pun. But
Wow.
I've got to be honest, this is pretty great, and you know, I think this is the one feature that they added that everybody's going to need to be able to use.
I think
Yeah.
it's a good example of basically a quality of life feature.
Mhm.
It's not huge on its face, but
But
it really
actually important.
it actually matters. And like I used it when I was in the rock mining because it's open to the air, like Jolly pointed out.
Yeah.
So my visor was all frosting up on this cold world, and I couldn't see a darn thing. Wipe, I had a clear view. It was
How
great.
long does
Shift Z.
how long does the wipe last?
Oh, they changed it to
They've upped it.
Alt
Yeah.
X.
They
Yeah,
changed it
the,
already.
Depend on the weather.
Yeah.
The keybind now is Alt X, and I think they've upped the duration of it lasting. Yeah.
It's great. It's going to be necessary for miners. It's a great thing.
So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
still wondering why my helmet doesn't have a heater in it, so it doesn't fog up and frost over. But I won't go into that.
yeah. Things
It's
that
irrelevant in space.
Heaters are
Yeah.
outlawed in the future.
I think the bigger question is how are we below absolute zero on
Yeah.
certain moon surfaces? But that's another story for another day.
I think somebody forgot to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius or something.
Something like that. But any way you cut it, anyhow. But see, those are things that are nitpicky, and I don't really care about because it doesn't really impact gameplay. Just stroke on the HUD. How hard is that? Come on, 5 years, guys. I mean, a retarded monkey would have had it fixed in 3. And so, guys, we're gonna have to chop the show because we spent 45 minutes an hour
we knew we would.
Yeah.
We knew
on
we
a single
would.
segment. So, guys, we had 4 full segments, and we actually thought this one was only going to take about 15 or 20 minutes, and it took an hour.
Jay,
So,
you only thought it would take 15.
yeah. Well,
Well, we got things to talk about next time.
We will. We definitely will. And I think we have the date for the next episode, and we're going to go into one more segment here real quick, but I wanted to talk about this. The date of the next episode is going to be 1 second, guys. I got to get to the calendar and look at next month's calendar. I apologize. I should have had this written down. That's all my fault. But I will have it momentarily as the website loads. We're going to do the next episode. Same bat time, same bat place. On the crying out loud, Jay. Highlight that number. August 15th, 8:00. There we go. Go do it after the
That
staff
works.
meeting again. Yep. So, and hopefully everybody can make it, but I just picked the date, but that's the date we're going to do it. Okay. If you have questions, comments, or just want to give us a hard time, please at ChapCap those during the next segment, and we'll answer them in our questions and answers segment real quick. And Turin, we're going to go over to you with the rags to riches. What is the best way, if you're a new player, and kind of the progression of going from 5,000 credits and a single seat starter ship and being able to increase your in-game AUEC right now?
Well, I'll also have to defer to Namidius, who is the delivery FPS guru here. But I think he and I will both be in agreement that your best option is to do the delivery missions to start off with. And I will caveat this in the fact that 310 right now, as it stands in the PTU, the delivery missions are really kind of crap. Okay, you have to work really hard for virtually no payout. If you haven't had an opportunity to go in yet, what you have now available to you when you first start out is you either go to one spot, pick up 3 boxes, drop them off in 3 different locations, or go to 3 different locations, pick up those boxes, and drop them off in 1 location. Every once in a while, if you're around the Crusader system, you'll get a mission that you go out to the Kovalex Gundo Hub, if you know what that means, and you'll pick up something and come back. That's actually 5,000 credits. It's a really easy one to do, and you pick up some serious cash with it. But if they keep the same kinds of missions that they've had in the past, and I have no indication that they won't eventually bring those back. I think we're going to see them maybe turned off or diminished a little bit because of testing purposes for the new chain missions that they're trying to build in. But if you have that, you want to start off and do it. Especially if you got a starter ship, especially if you even got up to like a Cutlass or a Freelancer, until you get, and there is a level of debate about this, but until you get around 120,000 credits, you really don't want to start messing with cargo, because you're simply not going to make enough return on your investment that you will with delivery missions. I think, Jay, when we were doing them in the stream, we were busting out 36,000 up to 42,000 at one pop, going around for about an hour's worth of work. And that's really good. That's really decent. To get that kind of level of return running cargo, you're going to have 350,000 starting cash to be able to, and a ship big enough with enough SCU to be able to make that kind of return, single shot. So, Nam, I know you got more experience in this. What's your take on it as well?
Yeah, and they've changed it now, like you pointed out, but we're probably missing a lot of missions that we will eventually see. It's all subject to change. What I've been doing up till now in 3.9 has been, going around the planet and its surrounding moons, picking up packages and then running them to a different planet and its surrounding moons. And in that hour and a half, you can make that or way more than that, actually, depending on how lucky you are. Now they got these multi-stop missions where you're either picking up 3 at one location, taking them to 3 different places, or the reverse of that. But they're only around a single planet moon system. They don't have any of the interplanetary package missions going right now, but we know those have to be coming back at some point. And I think the multi-delivery we're talking about, they only pay 4,000. Right. So it's not worth the time. Right. It's only really there to test, really. They're going to
right now it's testing.
Exactly. Yeah, so if they want people to test, they're going to have to
pay out more.
They need to pay out more, and they really should set it higher, and then switch it when they go back over outside the PTU. Yeah. I mean, because what you make in the PTU stays there; it doesn't go anywhere. Now, you come to a point where you're running boxes, and let's say, for example, you have a Cutlass, you have a Freelancer. Everybody should have the base Freelancer because of the 30,009 bug that you have. Start looking at and become what I say, a little bit more smart in how you do your deliveries. You know that there are certain commodities that you can pick up, and as you go along and drop your boxes off, you can also sell a little bit of cargo as you go. These happen to be your vice commodities, your alcohol, stems, medical supplies, if you can get them. So start looking for stops, box pickups at one of those locations. You can put your box in. You can also load in 30 SCU of cargo, 40 SCU of cargo, and you begin to kind of maximize and optimize your trips. It's not a whole lot of extra cash, but you're already going to the drop-off delivery anyway. Start doing it that way.
But you're still the risk, though.
You're starting to introduce some risk. But the stems and the alcohol sales, they're pretty low margin, so you can fill up a Cutlass for not a lot of cash and do it. Another one you can look at is scrap runs. If you end up delivering a box to a rest area and you've got something that goes back to Port Alisar or Levski, do that. So that's kind of the intermediate step where you can begin to put it in there. I also like doing it because it makes me think a little bit more in the game about my routes, about doing things, and how am I going to go about planning my runs, and not just strictly being Star Citizen FedEx and going from point A to point B.
Yep. Yeah, the couple of things you mentioned, Kovalix, in terms of box. The investigation is probably one of the lowest risk ones out there. At the Kovalix, you have to investigate. You run around and EVAing, checking out different computers until you find all of them, and then bam, 8,000 credits. That's a really good payoff. What I would do, the only real risk you face is your ship getting blown up while you're inside. And that could happen. What I do is I'll take an Aurora out to the station, leave it outside. I'll run the mission itself, gives me 8,000 credits. Somebody blows my Aurora, so what? Quit the game, restart, claim the Aurora. I made 8,000 credits.
You made 8,000
credits. Easy way to get quick money real fast. If that mission is available for you. What then I'll do is I'll change servers, repeat the process if I need the credits. That works out pretty well. We were talking about trading earlier. The most lucrative way to get money, period, and conversation, just includes mining, is trading, period. I could do a run of Laranite in less than, or about 10 minutes, and I'll make 70,000 credits.
Yep.
But my threat is number one, 30Ks, and to a lesser extent, pirates, but really 30Ks. And I've lost so many credits, millions of credits, like many others have lost millions of credits. When you get a full load on a cat, that 70,000 credits, that's with a lousy max. So that's the reason I get done so fast. And
That's about 200,000, right?
300K investment, 70K return on Laranite.
Right.
Grecium, again, with a max, I want to say it was 280K investment, 60K return.
Cutlass is about 100 and it's about a little bit over 100,000 for Laranite. You get back about 35,000 credit profit
but
on that.
That gang of 30K pirates, man, they are really good.
Right, you should.
Every time.
You learn real quick the rule of half, meaning don't put more than half your stuff into a ship. The other thing I would say, there are other missions
30Ks are so bad right now. I would go to the rule of 4s or the rule of 3s, not the rule.
Well, I mean, I only run right now in the PT. I only run, a Cutlass, or if I really feel like I've got a pretty decent server, I'll run a Max. But I won't run any cargo at all in a Caterpillar. But the other things you can do. There's some other smaller missions that you can take, and will add some additional fun as well. That's the research probe, and the one that I like is the stolen property one, because you get a little bit of combat with that. You blow up a ship, you pick it up, and they pay pretty decent for the amount of time that it takes to do that mission. So that's another thing that if you're
claim
really
jumpers,
chill out for a little bit. Claim jumpers. Well, claim jumpers, you got to actually be able to blow shit up in space, but.
Right.
But the other little small missions like research probe, stolen property, and then the ones where you have to go and investigate the crash sites, those things are really good too. And be a little smart again. And if you have to go find a piece of cargo at a crash site, also check out if there's an investigate to find a crew member, because oftentimes you'll have a crew member investigation mission that will be at the same location you're going to go pick those things up. So just take a little time and run through the missions that you see on the mission board.
We haven't talked about mining too much. Next to trading, mining is probably the number 2 way currently. We don't know what salvaging is going to be like yet to make the credits. Now, mining's advantages may not make quite as much money, but you have zero risk up front. You're not putting credits out for these things. Whatever you pick up is your profit minus fuel you've used to do the operation itself. So, huge fan of mining. Hand mining is an advantage if you can't afford a prospector yet. Let's say you really started out, get the little tool and the mining bit on it. Take the mission to go down, try to find somebody lost in the cave. Who cares if you find them or not? Just go down there, find the rocks, bust them up, bring them back with you. But I will note it takes a bit of skill to do the mining itself. Hand mining is more difficult than vehicle mining or ship mining is, in my opinion. So don't get frustrated too much. Make sure you're wearing armor, the whole 9 yards, and be careful. It's probably the best thing I can offer to it. But for the amount you have to put out, the payoff can be very, very good. You need to get 15K doing it, even if you just pick up lower rocks that you're breaking up. And pick up some.
You should make way more than 15K.
If you want to hang around long enough to pick all of it up, but I don't want to spend 3 hours down in a cave.
Well, Jaglin and I did an hour-long run in a cave and pulled out almost 70K.
You guys got lucky then. Yeah, that sounds right, Jack.
Sounds right. I would say a full load of Haydenite's only going to get you about 23, 20, 25 maybe.
Unless you're dropping boxes, unless you're running up and throwing boxes in your ship.
Well, unless you're putting the boxes in the car. Yeah, Shep, you're right.
But I mean, then you got more risk, right? Because somebody can just come along and be like, "Oh, that's a cool target." Blah, 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 blah.
Look at that box.
Nuke your ship.
So far, we've been lucky. Not had anybody blow up a ship while hand mining.
Yeah. To enhance on what Jolly was saying there a little bit, you could do the hand mining to build up enough cash, and to where you can afford to rent a prospector if you don't have a ship worth doing anything with and for what you're wanting to do. And as long as you know you got the time available, because it's for like a 24-hour period. For how much does it cost to rent a prospector for a day?
30,000, 35,000.
Right. Yeah. But you can make a lot of money in one day if you like planned it out on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you knew you were going to have a huge gaming session. You could really rack up a lot of cash there.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got your starter cash to start doing cargo runs.
You should be able to do 35, 50K an hour with your eyes closed in a prospector.
Real
More
good point.
Can you rent them with different mining heads, or is it all the base ship?
No, you get the base
No.
head. That's a
And I
big drawback.
don't think they're
You
allowed
can't modify it.
Yeah.
You can't. There's a bug where you can, but it's not intended.
Okay.
Okay.
So Riddler had a question in chat. Can you drop your boxes in an Aurora? Nope, Riddler, you can't. Sorry.
No, there's no cargo grid for you to drop them in.
Has
What?
to be a ship that has a cargo grid.
Yeah, you're right. No, wait.
It doesn't
Delivery
work as
Some of
missions
the
are
Auroras have
different.
cargo.
Yeah, but can
Deliver-
you drop
They have a
can
cargo
you drop
box.
the
Yes.
box right in front of the bed and it will register like it does
I
in the
think it
Prospector?
does.
I don't think so. I thought you had to drop it on the cargo grid.
No,
on the
because I've had
Prospector,
boxes
you
in the
can-
front of a Cutlass and they've sold.
Okay.
Yeah, but the
well,
difference is those ships have the ability to sell cargo. I've done this with the Terrapin, and you can't do it with the Terrapin. No matter where you put it in the Terrapin, it will never sell it
Because
because the
zero residue
Terrapin
to
has
begin with.
right because the Terrapin has no capacity to sell cargo. So I don't even think it gets looked at by the trade
But
consoles.
some of the Auroras do have a cargo capacity.
I
It's
understand
CL.
that, so it'll probably work. But if you put it like in an LN, I don't know.
Mhm.
I've
like a
never
CL or an MR. I don't know if an MR. Well,
put it
MR
on
has
the put it
MR
on the
is like
list,
4 or something
Three.
like that.
3.
and then the LX. But anyways, put it on the list to test. You know,
Yep. Something to test.
I'll go buy all the Auroras, try to figure it out.
So, guys, I have made a commitment that we're only going to do an hour on these shows. We're at an hour and 5 minutes. Is there any other questions, Chap Cap, that anybody has tossed at us?
No, negative. We're clear. The only thing I'm going to throw out is that I'm going to 3D print Josh a Star Citizen ship so that his prop is not a snow speeder when he's talking
That
about
would be
Star
great.
Citizen.
Can I pick the ship?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Inventory.
Yeah.
The
So-
only thing I actually want to say real quick on the Rags to Riches segment here is, as much as it is great to find what is the most efficient way to make money, and I actually need to spend a little more time doing that and get some of the upgrades, especially since, for those that don't know, if you spend money upgrading your ship and it gets blown up, it will stay there, and it should last from build to build. But there is an enjoyment in seeing the different places the missions take you. And if you embrace the context of taking this mysterious box to a mysterious place, and then you go look at what you can buy and sell there, and you realize it's a drug lab or something. So I do think there is a value in doing the different missions beyond just the money you get paid.
Completely agree. No doubt that there is a
Absolutely.
value there. And so, but we've got more content. We'll have at least an hour-long show on August 15th. If we continue to do this time after time, we may go back to doing 2 shows a month. That'll be a question we have to talk about amongst ourselves to see if I can talk everybody into that. But tell us what you think. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter if you want to know more. We're going to start releasing all the episode segments for past shows so you can make fun of us on all the things that we get wrong. And, I stream Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. Hendrosa would normally be with us as well, and he streams on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And I think that's it. I don't think anybody else is live streaming besides out of this group.
Not yet.
But not yet. But Josh, once the game is more stable, I'm willing to test your rags to riches. I have a starter account. I still get an Aurora with 5K. Riddler, we'd love to give you a hand with that. So, give us a holler and we'll do some testing and make you our guinea pig. But anyhow, I think we're going to go ahead. Jolly, any last thoughts that you have
Yeah, we
on
left
Hangar
base
Ready for
310
tonight?
quite a bit, guys. It just came out. It's going to go through further changes. As always, wait for 310.1. And changes will be made, improvements will be done. I do recommend, though, you do get used to the targeting system. We pointed out some of the errors with it, but there are some positives, too. There really are positives there, so let's take advantage of those things that are possible. The Rags to Riches stuff was a lot of fun. Remember, it's a game. We're supposed to have fun. We're not here to make credits. The purpose of having credits is to buy stuff in game. If they're sitting in a bank account, they're doing you no good. So go buy different type of weapons that are out there, shields, propulsion system, test them all out, see what you like, find the good mix that's good for you, and share your information to others.
Yep. And just so everybody knows, we're number 3 on Twitch with about 180 viewers. Turing, anything? Hey, Turing, they're requesting that you move your mic away from your mouth a little bit because like that. Let's see if that makes you better.
Well, is that any better? I hope that's better.
It is.
A lot.
That sounds a lot better.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
So
you must
there-
have been hitting a limiter or something.
Yeah, he must have been
Probably
limiting or
was.
something.
All right,
Just
that's
a hair
great.
bit too loud. Go ahead. What are your thoughts, Trent?
My thoughts, 310, it's not hover mode. It's better. It's better than hover mode. I thought it was fairly easy to fly in atmosphere, believe it or not. I'm a big ship pilot for the most part, and I had no problems with going in and out of the various locations. I really like the tunnels. There's a lot of been negative feedback about the approach and access tunnels. My only feedback with that, and I know Nam and I have talked about it, is to put a direction arrow somewhere that if it's behind me, so I know to turn my ship around and get oriented to it. But I think there'll be a lot of changes that as they tweak through it. This is the first rollout. There's a lot more to come. They've already talked about 311, 312. It's an iteration process. It's going to get better. Give it a chance. Give it a try. And I hope to see you out there.
Great. Josh, what are your any closing thoughts before we call it an evening?
I'm glad we're making progress in certain areas. I wish it was in others. I know we've solved all of the problems here on our show, and if they would just listen to us. But I am looking forward to seeing more complexity in the flight model. And, they do call it the best damn space sim ever. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that come in. But I am excited to see more changes. And I'm looking forward to trying out the targeting model a little bit more, maybe seeing if I can find a way that I like it.
Okay. And Nom, what are your any closing thoughts from you as well?
I know I've been sound like a kind of negative on some of the aspects, like the targeting pips and stuff like that, but it's going to be just like with 3.9. 3.9.0 was pretty rough even after it went out to live, but like Jolly said, 3.10.1 they'll have the usual fixes to to iron out the rough edges, and in total it's going to be a positive. We're getting more quality of life stuff, like little things like visor wiping that actually matter a lot in the long run. And I'm optimistic overall. So
Agree completely. And Shabcap, I know you don't get to stream with us very much, but what are your closing thoughts on tonight?
Closing thoughts, I'm just going to echo a lot of things that people have said. I don't have the access that everybody has to the game, so I'm a little far behind the curve when it comes to some of these features. I've had limited exposure to it, but it's iteration 1 of 310. We're like 3 days into wave 1 open PTU. So just like everything else, be patient. Let them iron out some of the big bugs, and we'll see where it goes. And hopefully, they'll fix some things that we have some issues with, and I'm sure they'll break some things in the process. But it's all part of the experience, So be optimistic is all I'm going to say. That's it.
Fair enough. Guys, I'd like to thank you very much for watching the episode, and hopefully you enjoyed it, and will join us back on August 15th. And until then, check out Atlas Defense Industries if you're looking for an organization, and we'll see you in the verse.